chains. I was like, oh, these guys are really corporate dudes. Now I got bouillabaisse and oh my God, my hips started moving to the Atlanta dance.
This is the M-Dash Report, where media, marketing, and messaging meet the moment. He is not Arthur Baker. I am not Christopher Bugg, but together we are them. CB, how you feeling? Happy Friday, my man.
I'm feeling good. We are brothers in black today. I like it. You're looking sharp, Arthur.
You know we're about our fashion here, but I'll explain it in a little bit. As I said up top, he's not Arthur Baker. I'm not Christopher Bugg, and neither one of us is this man, the doctor, the chairman behind the boards, Mr. Dan Roth. Dan, how's it going today, man?
You two are a couple of lucky bastards because you are not me. I'm great. I'm good. Doing good.
Dan, that was grim. That was grim. I'm gonna start us off on a positive note. I want to start by welcoming all of our.
That was positive. I just told you were lucky.
That we're lucky to not be you. Come on, man. That's self-deprecating.
Trust me.
I aspire to be you, Dan.
All right. Good. Well, thank you. Welcome.
I actually want to start by welcoming all of our new viewers and listeners. Dan, you keep me honest, but I understand they are growing in number, modestly, slowly but surely. But there's some more of them out there. So today I've opted for the tasteful all black with a hint of orange, and the significance of the orange is actually twofold. So first, my beloved hometown team, the New York Knicks, have made the NBA Finals for the first time in 27 years. 27. So the second reason for my orange splash is actually today's guest, who is also a fellow Knicks fan, but more importantly, an alum of one of the finest institutions of higher education in these United States. You guys are lucky I didn't wear the sunglasses, because today we are famous adjacent. Our guest today is a master architect of modern media. He's an executive producer, director, and showrunner who has spent 30 years at the epicenter of culture and unscripted television, from documenting the foundational days of hip-hop royalty like Jay-Z and Nas, to producing VH1 hip-hop honors and directing Welcome to Rap City. His lens has captured some of the definitive moments in black culture and entertainment. He's directed musical documentaries like This Is My Band D12 featuring Eminem. He's run the control room for 137 episodes of Live PD. He partnered with Rock Nation to direct the hard-hitting documentary Exposing Parchment. He's the founder of Popstar Media, an executive producer and director for Red Summer TV. He's a talented human being. He's a friend. He's my brother from another. Please welcome to the program, Newhouse and Patterson's own Rahman Ali Bugg. Or Pop, as I know.
That's the best introduction.
Where is this guy? He sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
You gotta bring him
You gotta
up.
live up to that.
I used your government name in that intro there, but I've always known you, and I met you as everyone else who went to school know you as Pop. So can you tell us the origins of that nickname, or as I know it's your proper name, Pop? Where did Pop come from?
The government knows me as Rahman Ali Bugg, but they might also know me as Pop at this point. So Pop is damn near my government name. Pop was so interesting, for a long time I had created the reason behind Pop. Like, I was like, oh, it must be because I have an old soul. This is me talking about myself as a kid. I'm like, oh, I must be like the coolest guy. They call me Pop. Pop sounds like a cool name. So, and then I started dancing. Arthur mentioned I love music. I love dancing. It's part of my world. Entertainment, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of people threw this thing that thought it was because I pop locked. There was this old dancing.
Oh, yeah.
And whatever. So people thought it was because of pop locking. And no, it wasn't because of that. In my roundabout story, because it's still like, I'm still bugging out about how I got this name. Dude, come to find out, Pop is my nickname. We're living in this world of understanding neurodivergencies a lot better, right? So I've recently been diagnosed with ADHD, right? Like, go to a psychiatrist. They're like, yo, let's do some tests. Let's figure out what's going on, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I have ADHD? Oh, okay. So I'm like, I get a better lens on who this person is. Pop when I was a baby, my mother gave me a name. My father gave me a name. My father named me Rahman after Muhammad Ali's brother. His name is Rahman Ali, so my name is Rahman Ali after Muhammad Ali's brother. So my mother, like, she would call me and I would not respond to that name. You know, like as a kid, I'm just like.
Who's that?
So the only thing she could do was make a noise. Pop.
Wow.
Pop.
Wow.
Pop. 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 So the only sound, the only onomatopoeic sound that I responded to was the sound of a pop. 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 So that's how I got my name, everybody. Long roundabout way to say, oh, she just couldn't get my attention, so she just started clapping and saying pop, and
That's
I would always
amazing.
turn.
CB, do you want to open the segment and toss the first
Absolutely.
question before Dan gets started, because Dan's gonna
jump on this 88.
I'm going to be on good behavior.
All right, here's our starting lineup. Now I feel like I can only call you Pop. I can't even use your government name.
You see my humanity.
All right, so Pop, you grew up as one of 12 children in Paterson, New Jersey. You went to Syracuse's Newhouse School, and you've carved out this 30-year legacy at the top of the entertainment industry. Like Arthur said, we are famous adjacent today. Walk us through that journey and tell me a little bit about how your upbringing contributed to your role as a storyteller.
Ooh, that journey is kind of straightforward, but we were latchkey kids. We were, my mom was working. We were watching TV all the time. This box is the only box I've lived in my entire life. You know what I mean? But living in this box and kind of, living through the lives of these people that I saw every day. They became my friends. They became my inspiration, blah, blah, blah. I felt like that world made the most sense to me. You know what I mean? Because the world outside and the world inside are just different things. But this one in this box made the most sense to me. Once hip-hop started to come about, and there were these programs that came on television that showed these people who looked like me and felt like me and were inspired like me and like colors like me and talked like me. They were in these programs, and I'm like, I don't fit in any other category that I see on TV but this thing. That I starting to see now that they're starting to visualize. I look like these things, you know what I mean? And I feel like these things. So, I guess it inspired something to me to want to be a part of that world. I went to a fine and performing arts high school in Paterson. I was the outsider, in my family, the black sheep, or as my brothers and sisters would call it, the golden child, because I'm a mama's boy. I'm like, where you at, mom? Where are you? Where are you? Where's your leg? Where's your leg? I gotta be there. You know what I mean? So as my mama's boy ways, kind of, like I was mentioning, ADHD, autism. I'm just in school. I love it because everything's wild and popping, and I love it. You know what I mean? So I excelled, at school, but I didn't. I was like, I don't want to be a doctor like they're telling me I should want to be, and I don't want those things. But this music, this entertainment, this energy, the way that people impacted humans and the way we felt and loved and all those things like that meant a lot to me. I like this dancing. I like this singing. I like this creativity. So when I got there, we had to audition, got into the school. I was very comfortable, very like, I can be myself kind of deal. So this summer program was geared to kids who wanted to be in college, but was also like top of their classes. You know what I mean? I'm 14 years old. And this summer program is called the W.E.B. Du Bois Scholars Program. Okay. What they did was they brought together if you know W.B. Du Bois, the talented 10. They took the top 10 percentile of black and brown high school students in New Jersey, and they put them on a college campus. Part of this worldly curriculum was a TV production course, where they were like, you got all that other stuff. There's this thing called media. There's this thing called propaganda. That was part of W.B. Du Bois' one of his thoughts that he put out in the world was like all news, all of our publicity, all of this stuff is propaganda. You know what I mean? And that was like a thing that stuck with me. And the professor would always make me a producer. You know, they would always put me in a control room. And again, this is a college course. I didn't know anything. I was just fascinated by everything. You know what I mean? And so this was like, became my favorite class. And all this, I think, kind of informs who I become. My close friend, she was like, you should apply to Syracuse because I'm applying to Syracuse and you're as smart as me. You know what I mean? So you should be able to get in there if I'm able to get in there or whatever. And so it was just on a whim. I said, yeah, I'll fill it out, whatever. And this is me doing stuff on my own, you know, because my mother.
Always. I tell my kids this all the time. If you have an interest, you want to go to college, you want to do whatever. My parents didn't look into anything. I came home and said, hey, this is what we have to fill out. This is who we have to call. This is where I'm thinking I'm going to go. Okay.
Yeah.
They're not going to take the house, are they? No, they're not going to take the house, Mom. All right, you can go.
That part.
You can get into your new house career and how you excelled and did what you did there and became an icon and got into the stuff that you're known for now.
Well, I and that's interesting that you know that you say that, you know, and that you make the points you make because they're like I got accepted to Syracuse like first application. I got accepted. I got in a new house. You know, I didn't have to reapply, and I was like, how did people not get into this place? You know what I mean? Like it's so straightforward. You know what I mean?
Don't say that.
No. Like, but that for me, that was an illustration of you know, kind of an illustration of like, wow, I think I'm good enough to do this stuff. Everybody was there. From around the world. It was the first time I met people from around the world. You know what I mean?
First time I met people from Vermont.
People from Japan.
That was a big deal for me.
And I was like, wow, there's people, I can meet people from around the world? This is crazy. But we all liked music. You know what I'm saying? And we all were inspired by music videos and all this thing. So MTV was the holy grail of things, of life. You know, MTV, eventually BET, and we had, you know, during the time, our era, we're all a little up there, I think.
Yeah.
Baby.
I'm just aging gracefully. I'm old.
They were like these UHF channels. I don't know if you guys remember UHF.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of freshman year, you know, I applied for an internship program at MTV. You know, there was one that was available. They were offering to kids at Syracuse. You could only be a junior or a senior, but I got this magic energy flowing in me. Came home, I told my mother I got accepted to this program. And she was like, there's a boy who used to live in Patterson who works at MTV or whatever. Because I saw an article about him. I think she still has the article. I think we still have the article, you know, of this guy. His name is Jack Benson II. He was the producer of the MTV Raps at the time, and he was from Patterson, New Jersey. So my mother said, I read this article in the paper, in the Patterson paper. There's a guy from Patterson who works at MTV. You got to find him. And you find him, and you tell him you from Patterson, and da-da-da-da. And so when my first day of the internship, I was like, well, there's a guy. You know, my mother told me about a guy. Okay, we'll take you to meet him, you know, whatever, and you can figure out what department you want to be in. Wow. And then I walk into this man's office, and I was like, sir, my mother told me to come meet you. I think you know my cousin. This is the only place I want to be, on your MTV Raps. I don't know what to do. He was like, what do you want to do? I don't know. I just want to be here, and whatever. And so the dude was like, all right. You can be here.
Yeah, I mean,
know?
that's what better way to learn everything. Yeah, I just
Right.
want to say, Yo MTV Raps with the Ed Lover dance is what introduced me to the 900 number, which was the song.
Oh, you called it out.
Yeah,
That,
Pop, I warn you,
man,
Dan is a music freakazoid. Dan is about his music.
That reference was impressive.
Thank you.
So imagine that. You know, I was like, there's no place on earth I want to be. No other place on earth. I almost dropped out of college because I was like, I'm here. I made it.
Right.
That changed my whole perspective on everything, you know, because I was like, you don't always need, you know, that education. You don't need that secondary school. Like if you're about it, if you're focused, you know, if you're meeting people, if you're learning things. And I considered MTV a graduate school, especially when I left Syracuse. I was like, I don't need to go back for a master's because this is the master's program. So when I graduate, you know, I still don't think I know what to do, you know, but this guy who gave me this opportunity, I hung around in his office. That parlayed into, okay, I got a gig. You can be a production assistant on this. You can be a production assistant on that. Da 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 da. And then I quickly learned, you know, that opportunities come if you're around. You know what I mean? If you're kind of not around, if you're not in people's faces, they don't see you. It was the fact that other producers saw me doing so much for this man. You know, they'll be like, "Are you working on something?" I don't know. Am I? Or whatever. And then I would kind of get my jobs like that, you know, and I learned very early on to be diversified in your skill sets and what you're capable of doing, of executing, you know, of understanding allowed you to work, you know. So my affinity for different kinds of music helps me. You know, my affinity for wanting to tell deeper, richer stories allowed me to move back and forth from like what we called back in the day, and I don't even know if this distinction still exists in any place, but there was like production and then there was news, you know. Right. So there was production, which was fun. Hosts, live shows, comedy, branded things, did stuff for WWE, hip hop, whatever. Then it was MTV News. Then it was like, we need to tell a story here or whatever. We need to kind of slow this down. We need to get into this. We need to do some interviews. We need da 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 da. And I loved news. I loved MTV News. It was like the coolest thing in the world.
What was Kurt Loder's lunch order, though? Or like the signature drink or coffee you have to run for to get that?
No, but let me tell you about everybody. I don't know what it's, because, you know, we were in Times Square, and, you know, the world and entertainment moves faster than I think other worlds do. So, you know, we were all, it was my first time of really experimenting with different kinds of food, you know, at MTV. You know what I mean? Like, MTV was the first time I had sushi, like, not Syracuse, not nowhere else. Like, in the building at 1515 Broadway, I tried every new kind of food, you know? I started eating salads. I started drinking coffee more. I started drinking espresso. Like, what is espresso? You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah, for ADHD, it's like, whoa, what is this?
What is this? Perfect. So it was a deep cultural learning experience, and that offered me insight on how to produce, how to deal with people, how to manage people, how to communicate with people, how to translate ideas into digestible, you know, kind of bites. And I really truly value that post secondary education at MTV, because it opened the world to me. It really exposed me to the possibilities and the potential of technology, and my ability to wield it. You know, like it wasn't something I was afraid of. I knew I could figure something out. You know, one of the biggest lessons I've learned was from one of my executives, who's a mentor, a dear friend. Her name is Sally Frattini. You know, she was a huge executive at MTV for a very long time. And I went to work for our company for a couple of years after she left MTV. But I would see her run her meetings, and all she was doing was asking people questions. How do you do this? Why do you do this? How long is that going to take? Well, if that happens, then is this going to happen? Okay, so if he does this, then what happens? If we do this, then what will we do? If we, I was like, oh, I can figure anything out if I ask questions. You know, if I ask the right people the right questions. You know, like a lot of my colleagues, you know, and even some people who will potentially have worked with, they're like, yo, your resume doesn't speak to one thing. You know, it doesn't speak to just reality. It doesn't speak to just documentary. It doesn't speak to just live. That was survival. You know, it wasn't even like, I really want to do all this stuff. It's like, I have to do all this stuff if I'm going to be in this industry, if I'm going to learn the role, because I was only going to be a producer. I was only going to be a director. You know, those were the only two things that I wanted to do. You know, I didn't want to be a DP. I didn't want to be an editor. It was too, like, those things were too confining for me in the sense of like, if I'm here, then I can't be over there. If I'm in one place, I can't be in those 5 other places.
Like, the whole point too is like, don't you want somebody who has that broad experience?
You can do a little of everything.
When somebody says the same thing to me, they're like, well, you're kind of all over the place. Like, yeah. Yes,
exactly.
On purpose.
You've had this wide variety of experiences. You've been able to get a whole bunch of other skills. What's one thing that you wish more marketers and communicators understood about? You know, you said you learned from just watching somebody ask a lot of questions. What's that one thing that you wish more people would be doing in our field that they don't do?
Be as inquisitive as you can be. We don't know everything. You know, and we don't know how everyone feels. We can make educated guesses, you know, but our predictions are hit or miss, you know, all the time. There's no guarantees in this universe, you know, and so it's about you know, definitely your confidence. It's about, you know, the data. It's about the information you're able to gather, you know, and how you're able to wield it. But you're only able to gather, acquire, digest this information through curiosity, and part of that, you know, is a large part of that is just asking questions of yourself, you know, but questions of the people around you, to help inform your direction, and it helps you level set, helps you set expectations, it helps you create camaraderie. None of this is an individual sport. You know, all of it is a team sport. Every facet of this thing is a team sport. You know, and you got to know who you're working with. You know, you got to know what you're all capable of collectively.
I just want to pick up on something you said, because I think that perspective, that ask questions, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid. Don't pretend knowledge or assume knowledge or act like you know it already if you really don't. That's something that's missing in corporate life, at least in places I've been. People aren't willing to be vulnerable in that way, to admit or acknowledge that there are limitations to what I can do or what I know. But that, to your point, only makes the team mean, it makes it better, and it makes it mean something. We're all here. There are thousands of us working here because none of us can do this alone. So there's got to be a place where I end and you begin.
I mean, it's like I was saying earlier in the intro about the Knicks. The thing that impressed me as a fair weather fan, but the thing that impressed me was like they all trust each other because they know that guy's going to be there and he's going to grab it and he's going to try to get it in the basket. They're not looking to necessarily be stars.
I think it's best then if you look at it as a casual observer and can't tell who's the star. That's probably the best teams.
Yeah.
Well,
that's true. Like, I don't know who scored more, but no one's looking to be. Even the guy who is the star of the team, he will not accept that, man. Don't say that about Jalen Brunson. Don't call him the star. No, we are a unit. We roll. I do what I have to do.
They look good to me. That team.
And I think with respect to being curious and asking, you know, those questions, yes, the vulnerability part definitely helps, but it offers you, it offers your team, you know, to see you as human, as kind of one of them. You know, it doesn't put you above or below. It just kind of puts you on a plane. You just got a role to play, you know, on this team. But we're all made better by a best execution. You know, we all live on the impact and the reputation of the product that we all put out. You know what I mean? If they know I'm having an off day, if my crew knows Rahman is having an off day, they could pick up for me. Like Rahman, like I've been on sets where people are like, yo, Rahman, you checked out. Yeah, because this one, but we got you. We got you, bro.
That's so important for a team, right? To be able, for them to be able to come up to you and be like, you're not right today. It's fine. We are the net that will catch you.
My guys tell me all the time.
Yeah, but
we
like
tell each other on different things.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
But you know, it's like they know you. Your clients. They know you. But the people that work with you or who follow your work know that you surround yourself with a good crew of reliable people. So it's like Rick Rubin, right? Everybody knows Rick Rubin, but they don't know the engineer he works with. But Rick doesn't engineer the records. He works with people who engineer the records who he works well with. So he can say, make it sound green. They know what he means, right? Same kind of thing. It's you build that trusted team, that trusted network.
You know, and even added on that, I think, you know, asking a lot of people questions offers you insight upon the in our world. You ask as a marketer, you know, the audience's perspective. We all have a perspective on the audience's perspective. That is data. That's information. You know what I mean? And even though, you know, I'm not asking a viewer necessarily, I am asking a viewer. You know what I mean? Because we are 360 degrees human. I learn from the world in front of me, the box. You know what I mean? We're all being informed. We're all digesting all this information.
We're all being marketed to. We're all being sold something.
Every day. All day.
Because, you know, I'm not trying to lose my job.
It doesn't matter. You have to do the sound.
It's in my contract. I have to do the sound.
Buzzer beaters is PTI from ESPN. You get a topic, you've got 30 seconds to give your take, and then we move on. And if you disagree with somebody's take, that's even better because now we can argue back and forth a little bit and have some fun. So each section or each question that's in the buzzer beaters, we're looking for, you know, your hot take on it.
Hot take. See me? Who started? Do I start? You start.
Go ahead. You start, man.
Okay. According to CNBC, the University of Michigan's closely watched Consumer Sentiment Index hit all-time lows in May. Consumers have been pessimistic for so long that some economists are questioning whether households will ever feel financially better off again. In light of all this, how can brands adjust their storytelling to still resonate and drive purchases when audiences are feeling stressed about money? CB, why don't we start with you?
I think when consumers are stressed, you can't do aspirational marketing. You've got to, you know, nobody wants to see a family laying on a beach right now and drinking Corona. What you want to be doing is acknowledging the reality that consumers are in and explaining to people this is why we're a good value for your money. This is not the time for aspirational. This is the time for showing value and making sure people understand they're going to get what they need from the money that they spend.
Dan, what is your take?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think personally, I've been kind of annoyed by how everything is luxury all the time. And really, right now, I think it's good to acknowledge the pain we're all feeling and to explain how whatever it is you're trying to shill it eases that pain a bit, and how you're going to put some value into people's lives.
Pop, what's your take?
No, great. Chris and Dan hit it on the head. I think that's true. I think the more aspirational. Listen, I'll bring it even back to hip hop. If cats are talking about I got big cars and big houses and big jewelry, it's a turnoff for people. Right. It's a turnoff for me. You know, so I think in this day and age, I think everyone who's marketing and chilling anything, you know, needs to acknowledge that the world and the economics are not in a favorable place for everyone.
I think the watchword here, and you all kind of hit on it, is empathy. I understand at the end of the day, you're in business to make money, but if a brand's only concern is profit margins and they're willing to grow those at the detriment of the customer at every turn, they're going to lose customers. Big consumer brands and companies behind them need to learn to be as price conscious as their customers. and not just gouge them whenever they can. You know, where cutting prices can be a pretty compelling value proposition. And oh, by the way, and I'm picking up on something you said, I believe we've seen some rethinking by some of the notoriously snobby brands who didn't want certain customers back in the day and made it well known they didn't want those people buying their stuff, because where are you going to generate all that growth that you're promising your shareholders? Where? CB, hit us with the next one.
All right. A recent study from Outward Intelligence indicated that more than 50% of American adults say that brands are using AI too much. And there was an additional article in Forbes that warned readers of the hidden costs of AI slop. Is this a blow struck in favor of audiences wanting more human interaction, or is it really just fatigue from the lazy use of AI? And if marketers start to use it better, will audiences start to respond better? Arthur.
She swallowed the spider to catch the fly. I don't know why she swallowed the fly. The premise that you're going to somehow take human beings out of everything you do as a company and everything you say as a company, and you're still going to manage to sell stuff to human beings is delusional. So I would love to hear the end game being discussed in some of these boardrooms. If every company succeeds at what you're trying to do, there'll be no humans with jobs and no one who can afford to buy your products except the people who own the companies. So where exactly are we going? I defer my time. Call the next
I think AI is a shiny new toy, you know, that everyone wants to play with and everyone wants to really get good at, you know. But it's a cool little hacky sack that I think everyone will enjoy, and I think everyone will get good at. But at the same time, that fatigue is real. You know, I think eyes and hearts will get exhausted, you know, with the what we're calling slop now, because you can see it, you can hear it, you can feel it, you know. When you're doing, when you're sending emails, you know, when you're presenting written material, like people are looking out for the AI tone. You know, people want, they're using AI to track AI. You know, I think there'll be a leveling, you know, to what the preferred uses for AI will be. But I think, you know, humans enjoy humans the most. They enjoy humaning, you know, the most. You know, I think there'll be a return. You know, there'll be a balancing. You know, I don't think AI is going to go anywhere, because I think, you know, I do like when my words are corrected, you know, and my emails. Right. You know what I mean? I think there's these things, you know, when you want to calculate numbers.
Spell it on purpose, because that's just how I speak or how I'm trying to resonate.
Unless if I meant to spell it out right. You know what I mean?
Said kinda.
So I think
hey, that's what I meant. Not kind of, kinda. That's what I wanted.
And don't put an S on pops. You know what I mean? So I think there's, you know, there'll be a leveling out, you know, for a while. I think people are going to get tired. You know, people are getting increasingly exhausted with the use of AI. And I think people are waking up more to what the end game looks like if we keep going in this direction. I think people will start to see, I thought it was just them, but it's me too. My job is going to get taken too. So I think there'll be some level of reckoning with that. I don't know how it's going to play out. You know, the future's, I'm not clairvoyant, you know, but I think, you know, we're at that point where people are starting to see the non-benefits of AI and how that will impact us society, culturally, and even just to the bottom line, you know, my daily life. I think AI is not going to be as good for it. So I think that's coming as well.
Dan, you got thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with everything that's been said. I think what's going to finally kill it is when they figure out that their new toy, all the companies that are trying to push this and passing around the same IOU amongst themselves, once they find out that there's just not enough money to be made, their valuations and stuff, like it's in the trillions of dollars right now. They're not, if you look at their financials, they're not making money, and they're not making anywhere near what they've committed to, and they're never going to close that gap. So that's just going to kind of kill it and make it reset.
So this conversation is a perfect segue to the question that I was jumping the gun on. So recent reports show a fascinating cultural trend where people are now intentionally leaving or putting typos into their work just to prove a human wrote them. Has AI flipped the script so completely that flawless grammar is now a red flag for a machine-generated shortcut, while typos are the ultimate proof of human authenticity? And if so, are we actually willing to look sloppy just to prove we're a real? Pop, I'll start with you.
Yeah, that's a real thing. I think you have to. I think I spoke a lot about just my survival. Like having to pivot and do things just to survive. I think that is an affect of people just figuring out how to survive and to push through and be seen. Through the slop that's out there, because now everybody has an AI representative, i.e., somebody's using something to write something, to create something, to do something. You know what I mean? So everyone's kind of ready to be facing an AI representative of a human. You know what I mean? So I think we as humans have to figure out how to show our faces, show our humanity, through AI, and so making those kinds of mistakes, maybe depending on how you might write AI to mispronounce, or rather
That's the next round of this.
But that's a moment that we're in, right now. Like, how do I shine through and not be the AI application, not be the AI written email? How can they
Meanwhile,
feel
I'm being screened by the AI ATS system that's screening me in or out. Dan, what is your take?
Just be you. Don't worry about that stuff so much, and it'll be fine. Operate with intent. It reminds me of back in the day when a lot of synthesizers and stuff, and MIDI was this big thing in music production. I realize I go back to like the same well all the time, but there's a button on a lot of those.
I like it though, Dan. I like it.
So there's a button on a lot of those machines, or a command, like when you're sequencing like your drum machine, you can hit swing, and what swing does is it introduces imperfections because a human drummer is gonna swing, right? There, you listen to a drummer with a metronome, like Clyde Stubblefield, Arthur, like you talk about. Clyde swings, man, and that's what makes it feel good. Because if it's too perfect, it's not going to feel right. And nobody accused the Ohio players of being inaccurate, but man, they swung, and so. It's fine. The humanity is gonna be there. We'll figure it out. You can program it to be a little fake humanity, but ultimately, just don't worry about it. Just do your thing.
See, that's the hard part for me, though. That's the hard part for me because I have been trained for 30 years as a writer. My natural style is to use the M dash. My natural style is to double check spelling 4, 5, 6 times before I submit it.
So do it.
They're not. That's exactly it. They're not looking for false roughness. What they're looking for is authenticity. And if that's who I am as a writer, and I'm that methodical or that meticulous about what I'm writing because I've been trained that way, then damn it, that's what I should be throwing out there as my output now. I'm not going to start putting fake mistakes in there or letting something slide where I goofed up just because now that's a sign that somebody isn't going to think I wrote AI or used AI.
It's blasphemous to me that we now feel that we can't aspire to be as good as we can be at anything, for fear that we might be mistaken for a machine that was taught to act like us in the first place. One thing I'll say quickly, there's a difference between the steam engine, the internet, any other human technology, any technology that's ever come about. AI is not affecting people in a positive way. It's just not. And the more and the better it gets, the more off-putting it gets, the more annoying it gets. My 12-year-old doesn't like anything that she feels like, oh, Dad, that's AI. Dad, don't look at that. That's AI. It's the antithesis of a value-adding, oh, I'm so glad we have this now. Anyone else feel that? That's where we are.
Yeah, it's
My 13-year-old doesn't want AI either.
It's tulip mania. That's all. We still have tulips. We're just not as crazy about them as we were in like 1620 or whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. It is so interesting, the point you're making, because it's like, you strive to be really great at your thing, whatever your thing is, and now you've gotten to this greatness, and it can be replicated as great, so it becomes harder for people to really see the work you've put in. And then on the other side of that, you aspire to be great. You know, I want to be as good of a writer as Christopher is, you know, but I don't have that skill set. But I want to put myself in a space where Christopher is, because I aspire to be there. You know what I mean? I really want to be there. So I want to use this tool that's available to me to help me get closer to that goal. And like, you know, like you're saying, like it's kind of the ultimate irony that I think we're facing right now, that we have to dig our way through. We're going to fight our way through, because it won't be cute. It's going to be ugly, and it's going to be messy because of this shiny new tool status. You know what I mean? And everyone's going to want to use the tool and want to enforce the tool, but then they're going to be like, I don't want you to use that tool. I know you're going to use it on my job, but I don't want you writing emails to me.
Imagine. I'll say to my car industry guys, imagine if that was the argument there. Oh, you got here, but you got here too fast. You used one of those cars, didn't you? It's like, ta-da! If they said that about Henry Ford and his machine, really? CB, what we got? I know we're.
This is going to be interesting, and I appreciate that you mentioned the stuff about the kids, because I do believe that. Like, I think at a certain point, kids are going to be like, we don't want this, we don't trust this, we don't believe this. It makes us feel inadequate. It makes us feel unreal, you know, and unsafe to a large degree, you know.
My daughter tells me all the time, Dad, you're using AI, you're taking money away from creators. Knock it off. You know, don't use that. She's militant about it.
Well done, Dad. Well done, Dad.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I'm a good parent. Just say I know I'm a good parent.
And yet my kids will roll their eyes and be like, "Oh, Dad's on his bullshit again." When I start talking about Spotify,
Dad and the Luddites again. Here we go. CB, what you got for it?
All right. According to Axios, traditional PR agency models are fracturing. Clients are ditching single agencies of record for lean, curated collectives of hyper-specialized boutique firms. Are big box agencies officially dead weight, or is this decentralized model just a logistical and administrative nightmare for clients? Dan, we'll start with you, buddy. Throw the hard one over to you, man.
you know, I have feelings about this. I think big agencies have been dead for a long time. The holding companies are not about anything other than buying the brand name agencies, and they're very much like venture capital. They hoover up all the value, and they don't really deliver for their clients. I've experienced this firsthand, and it was really weird for me to go brand side and deal with agencies, huge agencies, having come from a very small shop where we worked really hard to make sure everything that we put out just was perfect. And to get garbage from these big agencies in the B and C and D team. And it was like, what is this? So I think companies with their renewed focus on the bottom line, they're going to look and they're going to be like, we're not getting value out of that. It's too expensive. And really, I think for years, a lot of what agencies do, companies should be doing in-house, because that agency company translation layer, it's great for the holding companies, but it's not good for anybody. It's not good for the work. It's not good. So they've been dead for a long time.
I'm on the other side of you on this one. I think big box agencies they're not dead weight. They're not dead weight. They're on trial. They are, clients are chasing diversity of thought. They're fearing a big agency with a big contract will do exactly what you just said, play it safe, send the B or the C or the D team in. But now the execution is a mess when you have, you think you're going to get this really wonderful bouillabaisse where you've got 4 or 5, 6 different groups of people coming in and adding to the soup. And what you have is 6 different soups on 6 different burners on the stove, and they don't necessarily mesh well together. I've watched it happen in organizations where they try to do this with multiple boutique agencies, and you get 4 agencies that don't want to play nice with each other because they're all protecting their space. Yeah. So I think it's not that big box agencies are dead. I think they've got to learn. They've either got to train up the A and the B and the C teams so that everybody's on the same level, or you've got to learn to apply or aggregate your teams so that you're getting better output from them. Because I've watched the turf wars happen, and they're not fun. You don't get the collaboration that you're looking for.
Yeah, no, we're not on the other side. I think we agree. There's a whole podcast in there that we could talk about, but those are all valid points for sure.
So I don't speak agency, but I'll tell you a quick anecdote. So I have a friend who works in IT. Whenever I talk to him about the fact that I need to buy a computer, he makes me feel really not smart. because he immediately starts talking about where you can buy a good motherboard for really cheap and this circuit and that analog switch. And I'm like, dude, I'm not building the damn thing. And he's like, why not? It's cheaper that way and you can get exactly what you want. Shout out Chris West Point. So the moral of the story is if you have the capability to piece together exactly what you want and make it work, it eliminates the convenience of acquiring a one-stop big box anything. Companies are getting smarter about how they operate, what they want, and what they're willing to pay for. And I think this is a natural result. If I could just cobble some Frankenstein bouillabaisse together and maybe shave a few bucks off the ultimate price point, yeah, I'm in business, right? Pop, what are you thinking?
No, I'm just want to give a shout out to Bouillabaisse for making an appearance during this.
It could be worse. You could have said gazpacho, which is cold soup.
I got good parenting awards. I got good vocabulary awards. I'm hot, man.
We're done. You are killing it right now. You're like, yo, I teach, I cook, I do all kinds of things. I want y'all to know I don't just talk this stuff. Dan's dropping musical references from decades. I'm like,
look, man, come back anytime. We can talk about this stuff.
What did I walk into today? This is wonderful. Y'all Friday right now.
All right, Rahman, we got to bring you back. We're definitely going to bring you back, man.
For sure.
Yo, but
these are the guys. We found each other in the same way that you talked about your meandering career journey. That things just happen. It just ride the wave.
Oh, I feel it. I didn't know. I read the LinkedIn's. I was like, oh, these guys are really corporate dudes. Like, what's happening here? Now I got bouillabaisses and all kinds of references. I got the 900 number. Who knew the 900 number was coming up today? Yo, it came out of nowhere. Oh, my God. My hips started moving to the Atlanta dance as soon as you said that. I said, yo, what's happening? Oh, my God.
I love it.
Oh, man.
I love it.
CB, actually, you know what? Speaking of this brought to you by Bouillabaisse segment, the Buzzer Beaters is brought to you by whatever you want to. What do you have going on? What do you have coming up? Where can people find you? You are the sponsor of this segment right here. So
I appreciate that.
Lay it on us.
I appreciate it. This segment is brought to you not only by Bouillabaisse and the 900 number. Shout out to Ed Lover, shout out to Dr. Dre, shout out to T-Money, shout out to Jack Benson, shout out to all the people who worked with me on the MTV Raps who brought me through the game. But this segment, this show is brought to you by Papa Bugg, and all the things that Papa Bugg is doing, Red Summer TV is doing, Popstar is doing. We got I'm developing a few projects, with some folks, and we'll see how they come into fruition. But it's just brought to you by the spirit of me and my mama. That's Miss Bugg in the house or whatever. So,
Amen.
So yeah, you can find me at Papa Bugg anywhere, Rahman Ali Bugg at Red Summer TV, etc. But there's always things I'm working on, and always beautiful people who I'm working with. So hopefully they are represented, in the world. But I wanted to get back to this question before we do wrap up. Is like this big box thing, because I think it's going to level out like AI. I'm not a fan of the big agencies, because I'm an independent, for the most part or whatever, and they tend to skew the metrics, when it comes to the clients we can have, the clients we can work with, et cetera. But I think a lot of, we're learning in this new age that you don't need the big box all the time. There are very specific needs that you have, and a boutique, could work well for that, or just kind of figuring it out on your own. Like I think about some of the actors I know and directors who I know and all that who aren't represented but have management, who don't have agents but they have managers. So they've helped them figure out, where they want to be. They help figure out how to position them, et cetera, without that big agency, doing the talking and commanding a lot of their revenue, because they're just a big company. I think it's like, it's a, what do they call those things that have all the knife? It has the
Swiss Army knife.
Swiss Army knife. Swiss Army.
I think we're all like in that world of using a Swiss Army. Like I'll use my big blade if I need the big blade. I'll just use the little nail cutter if I need the little nail cutter. And technology allows that, and society at this point is allowing that as well, because I can reach out to the people who I need through wherever their social media is. For me, it's Papa Bugg. You can always reach me at Papa Bugg if you need some consultations, some producing, some directing, all that good jazz. But if I see
help putting
an
together a
independent
pitch,
marketer,
help putting together a pitch to get greenlit, is that one of your services?
holla at your boy, you know what I mean? Like, just all that good stuff. But I think, you don't always need to go to an agency to get those services. You can call this independent, here to do it, who's going to give you a more boutique, kind of execution, because I can hear you, I can see you, I can connect with you, blah, blah, blah. It's not department. I have somebody not doing something they don't want to do, just because they got assigned to it. So I think there's going to be a reckoning and a balancing. I don't think the big agencies are going anywhere, but they're going to have specific uses, because I don't even think everyone wants to even use the big agencies or even deal with them, a lot of times, because there's so much red tape.
For anyone out there who finds themselves in that situation and you don't want a big box, but you got a problem and no one else can solve it, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the M-Dash.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are our
go to
own
the mdash.report.com. They can email us.
In training. We are an agency in training here.
But I think that I did want to say too, Chris, your experience and my experience are interesting, because I think you had better experiences with large agencies than I did. But there are definitely good ones, and that turf war thing is really important, because I found, like, as the client, I had to be like, you're going to share XYZ because I paid for it. Mm-hmm. And that's when you get good ones and they work together, it can be wonderful. I feel like I came as like a nattering nabob of negativity, and that's
going back to William Sapphire.
You can throw shade, whatever. It's all good. We'll come back.
CB,
I love it.
Where are we going? Are we a penultimate? Or are we at ultimate? What's
we're at ultimate.
When you ask the sports question,
when you ask the sports question,
that's how I know
that's where I'm going.
So
that's where I'm going. See, all right,
come with it.
All right. So, and NBA, we got NBA fans and NBA watchers here. Following Boston's NBA playoff exit, Jaylen Brown bypassed traditional media to stream on Twitch, demanding referees be investigated. Days later, Miles Turner of the Milwaukee Bucks used his own podcast to completely torch the team's internal culture, exposing that Doc Rivers never fined anyone and Giannis only shows up when he feels like it. With players now acting as their own unfiltered media networks, has the concept of team culture become a myth? Is the always-on player transparency empowering for sports? Or is it an organizational nightmare, making it impossible to build a disciplined championship-level franchise? Let's go Pop first.
Oh, good. I like this. So I'm a fan of Jaylen, and I'm a fan of these athletes, using their First Amendment right, as much as they can, because they're the people on the ground. They're not the front office who knows nothing, about what's happening on the court. When these physical, emotional games are being played. I think their perspective is important. I think there's always, I think it again is I think it still is top down, in terms of the team culture, organizational culture. I think it's good to be open and allow for those freedoms to happen, because I think it actually builds on your culture for people, for the people within the culture to feel free, to feel like they can be themselves, that they have their own voice, that they don't feel that they're hampered, in any way, just to speak, on the levels that they are capable of speaking. I don't think it destroys camaraderie. I don't think it destroys, the team dynamic. If everyone feels that way, if there are people on the team who don't feel like they can speak, and then there are people who do feel like they can speak, then it's gonna be a little weird. Everybody isn't playing with the same power on the same level. But if there's a culture that's designed to say, you can truly be yourself, but we rock together. You know what I mean? We know he's gonna say what he's gonna say, but I got his back when he's right. And I may have something to say when he's wrong, but I know I'm still going to fight for him. When we're all, when everything's on the line, I won't defend my brother when he shot somebody. I can't defend that. You know what I mean? But I can understand when he's upset. So I want him to feel like he can express upset. I won't defend him when he does something that is completely out of like it's just immoral. You know what I mean? But I will respect his opinion, her opinion, their opinion, whatever. So I don't think that it's a bad thing that these athletes are saying what they need to say, what they want to say, because I think it helps the league grow. I think it's better for the fans to feel like these guys are humans versus robots. You know what I mean?
That's
so
how
I think it helps the culture over.
Because Dan will pop off sometime, and I got his back. Sometimes I gotta tell him, "Hey, Dan, it's a bit much." Yeah, but
I'm open to this. This is fun.
You had to use all those words, Dan. You had to come out like that, but I understand where you're coming from.
You see what
That's
he's
right.
got under the fabric. So I got a slightly different take. I miss the days when athletes had secrets or stuff that they didn't talk about publicly. It's funny because it's a hallmark and an indicator of how far Pop and I really go back. And how I discovered we were really friends. So once upon a time, I had a situation with some members of a collegiate sports team from the university we attended. A situation that resulted in the grand opening, grand closing of hip hop nights at a club in Syracuse, New York. This man jumped down over a railing from the second floor of this establishment to get some people off me. And I appreciate him infinitely for that. I can only imagine if that situation occurred in this day and age of TikTok, Twitch, and IG Live. I would have been a meme. And some of those other gentlemen, some of those other gentlemen's collegiate athletic careers would have likely been over. Sometimes it's best for the greater good if you don't have a platform, or even better, if you just know when not to use it. That's my perspective.
Look, if you want to be a meme, there's still time.
There's still
we can make this happen.
Oh, I'm still working on it.
We can turn you into a meme. Here's my thought.
We're gonna bring you to Philly, and we're gonna talk shit to everybody in front of this stadium. I'm gonna be like, all right, what you doing?
I would get my ass kicked in Philly. They don't play.
Here's my take on the sports thing. Here's my take on this, on the NBA thing. If you watched the Bucks play this season, you saw a team with broken culture on the court that was reflected in their record. You don't have this same problem with the Los Angeles Dodgers or the Seattle Seahawks. And I hate the Dodgers, but I'm going to hold them up as a prime example right now anyway, because they're winning championships. You don't have, when the culture inside is right, you don't have guys going off and popping off and trashing the team culture on their networks. So if you get it right and your culture is right, there is absolutely no reason that these platforms should be causing the problems that they cause. The Milwaukee Bucks problem started long before Miles Turner went out and shot his mouth off on Twitch or on his podcast. They had deeper problems way before that. They still have deeper problems way before that. And if they blame him for running his mouth, that's just another way of abrogating the responsibility.
That's what I was thinking, was like, look, these guys must just be really frustrated. And to punish somebody for acting on that, like that, again, it's the easy move, because you've made somebody who really has that responsibility look bad, but it doesn't solve the problem.
All right, Arthur, take us out, man.
So that does it for this edition of the M-Dash Report. On behalf of Christopher Barger, Dan Roth, and the entire crew, I am Arthur Baker, wishing you farewell, fond regards, and bouillabaisse, and good fortune for the future. Until next time, keep dashing. AB out.